Hallelujah.
How's everybody doing today?
Amen.
Yesterday was December the 7th, which happened to be the 78th anniversary of Pearl Harbor Day, which is the day that, of course, President Franklin Roosevelt said that it's the day that which will live in infamy. Merriam-Webster defines infamy as evil reputation brought about by something grossly criminal, shocking, or brutal, an extreme and publicly known criminal or evil act, the state of being infamous. So basically, it was something very shocking, very brutal, and evil act. I mean, a lot of people lost. It was a surprise attack. People drowned on ships as they sunk. I mean, it was quite tragic. There was a lot of rage and anger that came about from that one incident there. But of course, that brought us into World War II, where people decided to, respond to anger and hatred and everything else by going and committing more anger and hatred acts. In fact, the anger and hatred was so great, that even led the U.S. We actually created our own concentration camp, because on the West Coast in particular, we rounded up all of the local Japanese Americans and we stuck them into camps because there was so much anger and fear or whatever about them that we didn't trust them to be true Americans. Interesting note about that is we did not do that in Hawaii, where the Japanese had very much integrated. A lot of people in Hawaiian Islands, a lot of Americans, they had married Japanese people. It was very intermixed. It was everybody with one culture in there. So and on the Hawaiian Islands, where you think they should have a lot more fear and anger because they just got bombed, it wasn't, because that's their mother or their husband or their sons, daughters, and stuff like that. And so they didn't do that there. Also, several Japanese, they were a fighting unit. In particular, they fought in Italy or whatever. So you had a whole fighting unit over in Italy in particular of Japanese Americans that were fighting, even though back here we were rounding up their families and sticking them into camps or whatever. But they were still going out there and fighting and being a very well decorated unit, if I recall correctly, for the exploits there, showing just how patriotic, if you will, they were. And yet here we were letting fear and anger overcome us, and we're giving into that. And the Japanese, also committed other acts. Their treatment of POWs during the war and other civilians was not very kind. The Japanese are still suffering from their actions that they took all that long ago. In fact, they're still having a spat with Korea over it, because Korea is still unhappy with how the Japanese treated their women during the war. And so there's still that anger and hatred and just somewhat animosity still lingering there. Because hatred and anger can happen very quickly. It can be a flash. You can be talking to somebody and you say something, and all of a sudden, bam, they explode, and it's just like, whoa. But then you think, oh, well, maybe it's all gone, but it can linger. It just stays there, and it just stays there. And sometimes it'll just keep on building and building. And you're like, it'll be something 30 years down the road. It's like, and the person is still angry at you, still saying horrible things about you or whatever, and just still holding on to it, and just holding on to that there. And really, anger and hatred and fear, those are very much weapons of the enemy. Yes. Why does he like to use those weapons? Well, as we see there, that anger, that hatred can last for so long. But we're our flesh. We respond so easily to whatever, Maybe your husband or wife, they go and they do something, whatever. They don't do it on purpose, whatever. Maybe they didn't understand something. And then you get mad or whatever because you had to wait outside for a few minutes and have to walk through the parking lot to find where the car was or whatever, because they parked or whatever, because they thought you were going to call them or something. And so they finally find you, whatever, and they just start yelling at you about it because of that, whatever, because you were inconvenienced, because you were cold, whatever, and this and that, and you think they should have done something else. Because our flesh is weak. Yes, it's very easy to tempt us with a little discomfort, and all of a sudden, whoa! It's this big thing. It's like you just dropped a nuclear bomb, whatever, and it's like, yes, it was cold. You had to walk a couple of feet. I get that. But all of a sudden, it's this big deal. It's this anger, and it will just sit there, and it lingers over the air Even after you kind of like discussed it and stuff like that, it still lingers. Next day, next week, whatever, next month, he or she may still be thinking about it, and 6 months from now, and you'd be like, and they're still holding on to that one incident or whatever, and you've apologized as many times as possible. You're like, I thought blah blah blah, and they're still holding on to it because our flesh is weak. The story of Job is a very wonderful story, actually, about, if you will, in some ways, anger too. As we know, initially Satan goes and he asks God to be able to go and test Job. God says, okay, you can go test him and start off with, but you can't inflict anything on his flesh, nothing to him personally. So you can go wipe out his entire family and all that stuff, but you can't do anything to him directly. That's what Satan does. He goes and wipes everything out or whatever. And like Job passes that test or whatever. So then Satan's like, look, this wasn't a real test. Yeah, I killed all his kids and stuff like that. Took away all this other stuff. But that was nothing. I didn't touch this person. Because again, it wasn't that flesh. He wasn't really getting to the flesh quite yet. Yeah. So it's like, well, let me go and touch him. Let me go and afflict him. So what do we say here? And in Job chapter 2, verses 6 through 10, and the Lord said to Satan, behold, he is in your hand, but spare his life. So he can go and do whatever he wants to. You just can't kill him. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord and struck Job with painful boils from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took for himself a potsherd with which to scrape himself while he sat in the midst of ashes. So Satan afflicted him with painful boils. And so Job takes a potsherd and he's scraping himself with it to try to get some relief. I don't know about you, but that does not sound like relief. That kind of sounds actually kind of painful in itself. So just imagine how much pain he is in from these boils that he's having to go and just take this to him. And so then what does his loving wife say to him? Then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast to your integrity? Are you still going to hold to your integrity, man? Look at you. Look at everything you lost. Curse God and die. She's just like, just do it. Stop holding up to your integrity. Here's his wife. She doesn't want him to be integral. She's just like, dude, you should just die, man. Just do it. Forsake God, give up on him, and just die. But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God, and shall we not accept adversity? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. It makes it very clear. Should we accept the good? Should we accept the good without the bad? How can we not accept both? Whatever. If God's going to give us good, then yes, we also have to accept when he provides the bad or whatever. A lot of people, we only want the good. Again, because it makes the flesh happy and all that stuff. Ooh, I got a nice house. It's got heat on or whatever, this and that. Ooh, look at me, what I'm driving. But you throw some adversity in there. You throw some hiccups. You throw some hills, some obstacles into it. And all of a sudden, we're not so interested on what God has to say, of accepting whatever God has for us. And, we start like, geez, do I really want to follow him? It's like, look what he's doing to me here. We only want the good, but we can't. You have to take the good with the bad. We have to take that. But our flesh is weak. And as Job here kind of mentions in chapter 6, verses 8 through 13, oh, that I might have my request, that God would grant my desire. I wish he would crush me. I wish he would reach out his hand and kill me. At least I can take comfort in this. Despite the pain, I have not denied the words of the Holy One. But I don't have the strength to endure. I have nothing to live for. Do I have the strength of a stone? Is my body made of bronze? No, I am utterly helpless, without any chance of success. So here's Job. This is getting to him.
Yes.
These boils, everything he's lost. I have nothing to live for. Why should am I a stone? Is my body made out of bronze? His body is flesh. It's soft. It's weak. Eventually it's going to give, and that's why Satan knows to attack there. Because he knows that's the weakest part. Poke you in the soft spot.
Yes.
Find that chink. And so he's getting there or whatever. And so he's slowly affecting Job. So Job's like, man, I wish I would God, please kill me now. Let me go. I'm like, I'm good. Just let me move on. Here, just kill me so I can move on or whatever. Because he knows eventually he's going to lose to his flesh. Because his flesh is just going to wear him down. He's slowly being tortured. And it's just wearing on him. And that's why the devil knows to attack us from there. Because that's our weak point. That's a weak point we have there, and it gives into anger and hatred and rage. Job manages to resist long enough for God then to come in, step in, and resolve the situation, and Job walks away very fruitful and successful in this particular case here. But for people who start giving into the flesh, who start giving into the devil, letting him tempt them like that. In Galatians chapter 5, verses 16 through 21, I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lust against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentious, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I told you in the time past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. He's going after your flesh, because he knows he can start sowing seed in their flesh. He can start jabbing you in their flesh, and then he can start getting you to manifest his sin. Start getting you to do those outbursts of wrath, because it's like, blah. Over Thanksgiving vacation, my wife had a short little conversation with a young gentleman. She asked him a question. And initially it seemed like it was okay, everybody kind of went their way, and then he just unloaded, like in front of me, whatever, just sharing his opinion that he was deeply offended, apparently, but he didn't share it like, oh, I'm really offended by that question. No, he just starts yelling and cursing and just spewing out this outburst of wrath and anger about a question. It was a question she asked or whatever. But he's giving in to his flesh. He's giving in to the attacks of the enemy. He's had a lot of, unfortunately, things have not gone his way in his life. He's had a lot of bad breaks, whatever. But instead of going back to God and just keeping faith with God and trusting in him, he's not. He's just giving into his flesh. He's like, well, I didn't get what I wanted. Arrgh! And just lashing out like that. Instead of, you know what? I'm going to keep my faith. I'm going to keep walking with you. I know it's going to be a journey. I know it's going to be challenging. I know there are going to be days that are going to suck. Hopefully not as bad as having boils. I have to scrape with a pot shard. But, there's going to be bad days or whatever. And they're going to try you, and your flesh is going to get weak. And so you just, right there, you can just see the anger there. And I had a choice. I could, because my flesh wanted to. My flesh wanted to respond back and start yelling at him. And I really did. I really wanted to start yelling at him. And if I started yelling at him, then things probably would have escalated more so because, I'm still a young guy. So I still have my testosterone going, And it probably wouldn't have been as good for me, whatever, because he probably would have won. But I would have got some stuff in there. But, but I had to no, who am I? I want to walk with God. And God teaches us that we've got to control our flesh. In those moments, whatever, when we want to lash out, we want to go, Arr! And just get back in the no. We need to take a second. So I just listened to him. I just listened to him, and I tried to keep a calm situation, whatever, and stuff like that. And I tried to be, I tried to follow Christ's example in those type of situations, whatever. I did my best to try to represent him. So instead of me doing what my flesh really wanted to do, and start going back at him, whatever, because it was ridiculous, and just start going, no, I had to put myself in check. And that wasn't easy. But I had to sit there, and I was like, nope. This is not what God wants me to do. I'm going to be stepping out of God. I'm going to be going with my flesh, and I'm going to be demonstrating all these here and not walking with the Spirit or whatever. And that's really hard. When you have somebody that angry just going off and for nothing, whatever, and you just want to give in to it, because it's so easy. It would have been so easy for me just to sit there and just be as angry and just start going back at him and just start going at it. It's so easy. It took so much control to not do that. It's so difficult. But I can only do that because I'm choosing to walk with God. Walk in the Spirit with God. And trust in Him, whatever. No matter what was going to happen, whatever, I'm trusting in Him. But it was a challenge. I tell you, it was a challenge, whatever. We have other examples of other people who were being challenged. The disciples and even Jesus. Their flesh, whatever, was challenged and questions, whatever. In Matthew 26, verses 36 to 46. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane, and said to the disciples, sit here while I go pray over there. And he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and he began to be sorrowful and deeply distressed. Then he said to them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch with me. He went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. Then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping, and said to Peter, what? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Let me just stop right here for a second. So first off, we got two things going on here. We have the disciples and we have Jesus. Jesus knows what's going to happen. And here's the little thing. He doesn't really want to go through it. His flesh does not want to go through being whipped, have the cry on the horn, being beaten, being put on a crucifix. His flesh is like, ow, that hurts. Okay? And here's the thing. It's not like he's imagining what the pain's going to be like, whatever. No, he knows exactly what the pain's going to be like. It's just like, imagine you, if you're one of the people who have perfect recall memory. I can't think of what the word is for that. But the people who have perfect recall memory, they can recall things exactly, whatever. And so just imagine they'd already been hit by a baseball bat once in their life. And now they know that somebody's going to hit them with a baseball bat again. Well, they already know exactly how that's going to feel. And that's literally him. He knows exactly what it's going to feel like when the nails are hammered into his hands. Yeah. He knows exactly what it's going to feel like when they whip him. He knows exactly what it feels like when they're going to beat him. And so his flesh is like, can I get out of this? Because that's not pleasant. And so he wants out. Jesus would like it, if possible, if God, if it's God's plan, we, take option B. So his flesh would like to take option B, if it's God's plan. And again, he's still willing, he's going to follow God's will. So it's whatever God is deeming, which should happen, whatever. But also you have the disciples here. Yes. Their flesh is also weak. They can't stay awake. Mm-hmm. Jesus came back and was like, you can't stay awake with me 1 hour. 1 hour, I ask you, stay awake with me while I go over here and watch over me and protect me while I'm praying and meditating to God. 1 hour. You guys couldn't stay awake? He's angry with them a little bit. He's unhappy with them. It's like, 1 hour. You couldn't stay awake. They couldn't stay awake 1 hour. And so then he goes, all right, he's going to go do it a second time. So picking up in verse 42. Again, a second time he went away and prayed, saying, oh, my Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done. So again, he's saying, hey, if this is what it is, I'm going to do it. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. So he left them. This time he's just like, oh my God, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with these people that are asleep again. I can't deal with it. So he just left. He didn't even chastise them because it was just too much for him, because his flesh was just too angry. He probably would have lashed out at him again. So he's like, nope, I'm going to go over here back to the corner. So he left them, went away again, and prayed the third time, saying the same words. Then he came to his disciples and said to them, are you still sleeping and resting? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand. He's not happy with them. No. His flesh is a little bit angry with them a little bit. They could not stay awake. He only asked them one thing. Just stay awake, with me while I go over here and pray, whatever. He comes, first time they're asleep, he's like, it was 1 hour. Just 1 hour. You couldn't do it. So he was like, all right. Chastised and went back, came back. They're asleep. You ever get that when you tell somebody to do something, whatever, and you come first time, whatever, like, you haven't done it yet? Please go and do this. All right, and you go back away, and then you come back, and you're just, like, so angry. You just know, like, no, I can't talk to you right now, because you still didn't do what I asked. So I'm just going to go back over here. That's what he did, because he was angry with them. But he also knew he couldn't just lash out like that, because he is Jesus. He is the Son of God. And Son of Man. And so he went, and he had to go get more quiet time, if you will, straighten himself before dealing with them, because the hour was at hand. But we get another rash anger very shortly in the same scene, basically. In Matthew 25, verses 50 through 56. But Jesus said to him, "Friend, why have you come?" Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And suddenly one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, and struck the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. So here he is, one of his disciples went, took his sword, and took off the guy's ear. That's a pretty angry act. Generally, when you draw a sword, you actually use it on somebody. That's a pretty angry act, whatever. That's an outburst of wrath, whatever. It was like, so he went and he struck that. But Jesus said to him, "Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword." You know, everybody's lashing out in anger. Everybody's acting out of your anger and your hatred and stuff like that. You're going to perish by that, if you will. Or do you think I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels? How then could the scriptures be fulfilled, that it must happen thus? In that hour, Jesus said to the multitude, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you did not seize me. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. So we have a couple things here. One, we have the disciple lashing out in anger with the sword, cutting off the man's ear. And Jesus is like, "What you doing? I can call down 12 legions of angels. They'll take care of this problem, no problem. Why are you doing that?" And then he's like, "Why do people come in here and seize me in the middle of the night? I sit in the temple. You know where I am. It's not that hard to find me. It's not like I don't advertise where I am. I'm sitting there daily in the temple with you. You could easily have taken me and arrested me there. But you're coming out in the night with the pitchforks, the clubs, and the swords to come get me in the middle of the night. What you doing that for, huh?" Yeah. And then, but he's surrendering over to them. He's like, "Hey, all right, well, it's God's plan. I'm going to go with you, whatever." And his disciples, they forsook him and they fled. So this is actually another little bit of anger, because the disciples are still acting actually out of flesh, out of their flesh. They're not truly walking in the Spirit quite yet, which is why you have the one lashing out with the sword, which is why you have them falling asleep, which is why then when Jesus is being taken, fulfilling the prophecy, they run away. Yes. Because they're not really walking quite with the Spirit just yet. They don't get that until a little bit later, until after Pentecost. Well, on Pentecost, whatever. And also when they finally see Jesus risen, whatever. Because they're still thinking with their fleshly mind. Because a lot of them were still expecting kind of a warrior prince. Yeah. They were expecting to go in, lead an army, free Israel. They're still thinking with their flesh. They don't see the bigger picture yet. Which is why they're still acting out of their flesh. This is why Jesus kept on correcting so many times. It's like, this is what's going to happen. This is what's in the Word. Fulfill this here. And stuff like that. He has to keep constantly correcting them. Because they're still walking in the flesh. Here they are. They've been living with him. Ministering with him for 3 years. Yeah. But they are still walking in the flesh. They're still walking in the flesh. And you can see that by their burst of anger, by them running away, by their actions, because they're still not quite walking in the Spirit with him. Because they still haven't realized who Jesus really is. They may say the words, "Oh, you're the Son of God, Son of Man." But they're not quite really clear on the real picture here of really what's going to happen here. And you can see that by their actions. We also see and we get more examples. So that's them not walking in the Spirit. So if you were walking, though, in the Spirit, we go to Galatians chapter 5, verses 22 through 26. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering. Not short-suffering, but long-suffering. Yes. Kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. As opposed to outbursts of wrath. Self-control. You're controlling yourself. You're not getting drunk. You maybe have a drink, but you're not getting drunk. You're controlling yourself. You're not letting something else control yourself. Sorry, I lost my place. Against such there is no law. And those who are Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. So if you're walking in there, let's not become conceited here. Let's not become conceited. Let's not provoke one another. So we're not going to go out there and do things to try to provoke somebody else. and envying one another. But we're going to show love, peace, long-suffering, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, which is such an important thing. But because when you get angry, where does your control go? You're no longer in the driver's seat. You're turning it over. And a lot of times you're turning it over to the enemy.
Yes.
You are giving control to the enemy when you let him win. When you let him take control. When you let that flesh that's bothering you take control. And you start doing that anger and outburst. You're no longer in control. You're no longer driving this. You're no longer in the driver's seat. You're now basically in the back seat, being driven wherever the enemy wants to take you.
Yes.
Because you have surrendered that to him. Because you chose to stop walking in the Spirit and start walking in the flesh. And that happened. But Jesus, he gives us, he is the role model.
Yes.
We get a very simple example of just him walking with the love and joy and peace and long suffering and kindness at his trial there where he's being tried. They get a choice between Jesus or Barabbas. Barabbas is a murderer. Jesus, obviously not. And we have a choice there. But here's the other thing here. Jesus didn't have to have it between him and Barabbas. It could have been somebody else. It could have been somebody who's just a petty thief, and such as one of the people he's being crucified was just a thief. He could have had him been up there and the thief been there. No, instead, Jesus literally, God arranged for it so that he would save a murderer's life.
Yeah.
Think about that here. He's a murderer, and Jesus actually sacrificed himself directly for him. He literally saved his literal life. We know he died on the cross and rose again to save our spiritual lives, so we may not, so we can have life eternal. But here's actually an example where he literally saved somebody's literal life. He gave him a second chance.
Yes.
To go and live his life to hopefully be better with it and make better choices and hopefully follow and devote himself to God, hopefully. But he literally sacrificed himself for somebody else. He actually did that. And showing love and peace and kindness. If he was acting out of the flesh, he'd be like, no, not doing that. No. He's going to go on the cross too, and I don't know. Well, we'll pick somebody else or whatever. Maybe that guy over there is still a loaf of bread. And have that be that. But that's not what he did. He literally arranged it so that he would be able to take the place of an actual murderer. Showing true love and kindness and peace. And also a sense of forgiveness that God gives us. Because he forgives us for our sins. Whatever they are. Small ones, big ones, murder. If you turn yourself over to him, he will forgive you. He washes you anew. You get a new chance. Just like Barabbas got. Barabbas. People back then you get different things. So he that sacrifice there, that fruit, walking in the Spirit. So the enemy's going to try to get you off guard. The enemy's going to try to make things inconvenient in your life. It's going to start to rile up your flesh. It's going to cause things to be unpleasant, and he can start piling them up one after the other after the other. You get heartbreaks. In my life, I know when I was younger, I lost my college girlfriend. We broke up. She moved to another state. I didn't have anything really going for me at the time. But I didn't really have my job or career going for me and everything. And it's like money paying bills. It's just like, what's gonna go? And it's just, it was a really tough period or whatever. I was like Job there. I'm like, how much longer is this gonna go on? I can't just keep taking these hits here or whatever and stuff. But I kept on walking and talking with God, and eventually, it changed. The situation changed. I have a job. I work for a company. It's a Christian company. And they try to adhere to those values, which is a really benefit, but I'm also getting to work in my field and my chosen career or whatever, and I'm being successful with that. But it was a challenge getting there. I could easily just continue to going down and just giving into my flesh, because that was really easy. It was so easy to do that. As a result of disciples falling asleep. As a result of Jesus was like, you know what, could we do something else here or whatever, because my flesh isn't up for this here. There's all Job there. It's like, oh man, these boils. It's like, I'm getting tired here. My body can't keep doing this. I'm not made of stone. I'm not made of bronze. And so the enemy knows that. He's going to attack you where you're weakest. He's going to attack you in the flesh. Because he wants to get you to be angry. He wants you to lose that self-control. To stop lose that love, lose that kindness, lose that forgiveness. Forget the fact that it's long suffering. When you walk in the Spirit, it is long suffering. So there's going to be challenges there. It's going to be long periods, whatever. Except you have to fortify yourself. And you do that by what? Just like Jesus. You go, you find that time to sit down and talk with God. Just like Jesus. He went, he found time, he sat down and talked with God. And maybe you need some help. Go to your pastor. Or maybe you have a deacon in your church that you really have a good relationship with, and you like them as a good role model. But talk to them. We all need people to talk to. Sometimes, we always need time to God, but sometimes we need somebody else here to help us too with it. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody.
Yes.
Well, when your flesh starts getting riled up, whatever, turn to that trusted person. Don't go to Joe's friends, but go to somebody who's actually walking in God. And by that, I mean a role model. So, like, who is exemplifying the life that you want to live? Is this person over here exemplifying that life? Are they a model of the life that you want? Is that the goal you strive to? If that's so, that's who you should go talk to. Because you want to find those role models for living the life. So you find successful people who will be successful at things. People who are successful at a certain career. If you want to have that career, you want to go talk to those people and find out what are they doing they're being successful. How are they being successful with their career? Don't talk to that person over there who can't keep a job more than 2 months. That person over there is not being successful. Just because you're your friend, they're not going to be able to give you good advice. They're not a good role model. Don't adopt them as role models. But you want to find somebody who's actually being successful, who's showing values that are matching up with the word and obviously in actions that they're doing and represents the life that you would like to live. And you want to find them and talk to them because they might be able to give you some advice. Ways that, hey, this is what you need to do in your life. This is what you need to do. But you also need to go and take that time to talk with God. Because you need to make sure you're walking in the Spirit and not in the flesh.
Yes.
And when you start to feel that anger bubbling up because somebody did, you have to dig deep. You have to take that moment. A lot of times it's and you just go back with the Spirit or whatever, and you smile and like, okay? And you just show them love and kindness or whatever. That helps diffuse the situation. But if you lash out in your flesh, as we all know, quickly those situations escalate very quickly or whatever. Because just the anger just feeds up and all that self-control is gone. And it's just the enemy taking the wheel. And before you know it, something that you don't want to happen happens. Something you can't take back occurs. And something it's not so easy to come back from.
Yes.
So you need to take that time. That's where you need to be walking with Jesus. You need to be filled up. You need to be prayed up. You need to be taking that time and just talking to him by yourself. And if you feel like you're still not doing it, you need to reach out to your pastor. You need to reach out to your deacon. But also other things are in your life too, whatever. Again, you need to find role models who are representing good Christian values, who are walking down the path that you would also like to walk down to. And like, hey, what do you do to help keep yourself, from lashing out in anger? What do you do? How are you, what are you doing? And so you can learn from them. This is Jesus was trying to teach his disciples the right way to do things, whatever. And finally, he came back and he spent even more time with them after he rose again. He came back and he finished it because now they were ready to walk with him in the Spirit.
Yes.
And so he could really teach them. And so he spent, I think it was up to about 10, I can't remember exactly how many days, but he spent several days with them, teaching them, the real lessons. And now they were really open because now they were willing to walk in the Spirit and learn. And sometimes that's what has to happen too, whatever. You have to have that moment of like, oh, I'm not really walking. I've been walking in the flesh this entire time. And the way to check yourself is, read your Bible. Talk to God. Are you lining up? Are you lashing out at people? Are you having crazy parties? Are you being drunk all the time, whatever? Are you getting in the fights with everybody? Are you just holding on to anger for something that happened 30 years ago? Did Jimmy Bob steal your favorite Voltron toy and break it back in 3rd grade or whatever, and you're still angry at him 30 years later for breaking your Voltron? Whatever it is. Because he gave it back, all chipped or whatever, and you think he probably gave you somebody else's Voltron, not your Voltron, because that's the condition you gave it to him. Are you still holding on to that? Let it go, because the anger will sit there. And it's a way for the enemy to tweak you. And it's so easy. You don't realize it. So and you need to search yourself. See where it is where you're letting the anger in. Show that forgiveness, show that love, show that kindness, whatever. There we go. It was 30 years ago. That's not what God wants. God wants you to walk in the Spirit. So I pray that everybody If you're not doing it today, I pray that you do start talking to God and you search yourself and you find where your flesh is weak, where you're giving into the flesh, and where you're letting the enemy take control of you and take your life. This is your life. And you have the choice about where you want to go. So don't surrender the driver's seat to the enemy. Let God be the driver. Because he's going to steer you to good places.
Yes.
You have to let him be in control, which means you have to walk in the Spirit. And him guide you. He'll be like your autopilot, if you will. Controlling the car, telling you when to turn left and right, or whatever. You have to trust in him. If you don't trust the autopilot and you give it to the enemy, you're not even going to be in the driver's seat anymore. So please, search your feelings. Talk to God. Find that quiet time and pray to him. Because the anger will overconsume you. And we see it all the time. We keep seeing the news of people committing acts of anger and violence where they just let stuff sit there and build up whatever. It's happening more and more and more. I mean, obviously there's more people on the planet, so more chance of that too, but just that anger, we just see it more and more. And the only way to counteract it is by walking in the Spirit, by walking with God. So you got to search yourself. Make sure you're walking in the Spirit and not the flesh. And sometimes it's hard. So find an accountability partner too. If you don't have one, find somebody who truly can be an accountability partner. Again, the pastor's a good choice. And talk with them and make sure you bounce things off them and make sure you're really walking in the Spirit. Just do a little close out there. Dear Heavenly Father, God in heaven, Lord, I thank you, Lord, your word for your message, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for letting us search our hearts, Lord. Search your feelings, Lord. I thank you, Lord. If we're holding on to any anger, Lord, if we're giving into anger, wrath, Lord, we're giving into the flesh, Lord. If we're actually walking in the flesh and not in the Spirit, Lord. You saw that even the disciples, Lord, initially were walking in the flesh, Lord. So I thank you, Lord, for making it clear to us, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for giving us your word, Lord, and letting us know and check ourselves so that we can make sure that we are walking in the Spirit, Lord, so we start producing the fruits of love and kindness and gentleness and self-control, Lord, that you want us to have, and not the fruits of the flesh, Lord. That are just going to tear us down, Lord, and not give us anything that's worthwhile, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to be able to walk in this way, and be able to walk with you, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for us, and thank you for the blessings and the favors that you give us, Lord, by letting us walk with you, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for your sacrifice, Lord, for dying on the cross for us, Lord, and raising again, Lord. Thank you, Jesus Christ, for being our Savior.
Yes, Lord.
So that we all can get a new chance at heaven. So we can all be born again, Lord, and live eternally, Lord, at your right hand, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for sending your blessings and favors and instill in us, Lord. Thank you. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Hallelujah.